Beverly Sanderson made the single dumbest mistake of her entire HOA career the afternoon she called the cops on me on my land and demanded they arrest me for refusing community membership. She did it in front of 15 neighbors. She did it with a smile. And she did it without knowing I was the last person on earth she should have tried to intimidate. Because 10 seconds later, when I opened my wallet, everything she'd built for 8 years collapsed right there in my driveway. My name is Ethan Cole. I'm 58, retired after 30 long years running operations for the state police. For the first time in my adult life, I didn't have a radio strapped to my vest, didn't have a pager buzzing at 3 a.m., didn't have anyone yelling that a crisis needed resolving right now. I just had Cedar Shore Lake, a quiet stretch of water where cattails whispered in the morning breeze, and the dock creaked exactly the same way every sunrise. That dock was older than half the houses around here, and it sat on property I'd chosen for one specific reason: no HOA, no committees, no rules written by people who liked hearing themselves talk. Peace. That was all I wanted. That peace lasted 47 minutes. I heard the crunch of gravel, deliberate footsteps, purposeful, like they belonged to someone used to people moving out of the way. I turned and saw a woman marching down my driveway. Mid-40s hair sprayed so tight it looked bulletproof navy blazer clipboard tucked like it was a weapon. And pinned to her chest was a gold badge that said, Cedar Shore HOA President. "Good morning," she said, though it sounded more like a warning. "I'm Beverly Sanderson. You must be the new resident who needs to be processed into our community system." I stared at her coffee mug, still in my hand. Processed. She blocked my driveway like she had jurisdiction over air. Every homeowner contributes to Cedar Shore HOA. It's non-negotiable. Here's your packet. $2,800 due immediately, then monthly dues of $300. She said it like a cashier reciting a price, calm and confident. I took the papers, flipped through them slowly. I didn't see anything official, just a map that looked like she'd drawn it during a PTA meeting and decided the entire lake belonged to her. "Ma'am," I said, "according to county records, this property isn't part of your HOA." Her eyes twitched just barely, but enough that I caught it. "Those records are outdated. We've maintained authority over this entire waterfront for 8 years. County says otherwise. And I say," she snapped, "that everyone here pays. Everyone follows rules. Everyone cooperates. We keep things orderly around here, Mr. Cole. Well, Mr. Cole, I'll give you 48 hours to submit your initiation fee. After that, we start enforcement." She spun on her heel and marched back up my driveway, leaving the crisp scent of Power Trip perfume floating in the air. But not before tossing one more line over her shoulder. "Ask your neighbors what happens when someone refuses." That part lingered. Over the next 2 days, my introduction to Cedar Shore Lake turned into a crash course in Beverly's private kingdom. First came a violation notice taped to my door, big red letters screaming, "Unauthorized lake access, threatening $200 a day." Then came Beverly herself again, this time with 3 neighbors who looked like nervous volunteers at a charity car wash, except she'd shoved hard hats onto their heads and given them clipboards so they looked official. They marched around my yard measuring things that didn't need measuring and taking photos like they were documenting a crime scene. One guy held his measuring tape upside down the whole time. Meanwhile, Beverly barked things like, "This dock exceeds our setback allowance, and this must be modified to conform with community aesthetics." I asked her calmly, "Can you show me which regulation applies?" "Community standards don't need to be written," she huffed. "They're maintained through consistent enforcement." Translation: I said so, therefore it's law. By that point, neighbors had drifted outside like spectators at a slow-motion train wreck. Some pretended to pull weeds. Some openly stared, and all of them avoided crossing Beverly. Later, an older woman next door, Mrs. Sterling, leaned over the property line and whispered, "She ran the Hendersons out 2 years ago. They tried fighting her." "How?" "She made their life a nightmare." And her voice cracked in a way that made me wonder what Beverly had done to her. Still, I kept hoping reason might break through. I was wrong. That afternoon, a young father, nervous, sweaty, showed up at my door holding a petition. I'm Nathan. My wife and I just moved in. Beverly said my kids might get noise complaints if we didn't encourage neighborhood cooperation." He handed me a clipboard full of signatures. This is just saying you'll follow HOA guidance. Nothing serious." "It is serious," I told him. "This isn't even an HOA for my property." He blinked confused, but Beverly showed us maps. Another victim of the same lie. That evening my phone rang. Sheriff Harmon. He'd received multiple complaints: noise, unsafe dock structure, community disruption, all filed by Beverly. I agreed to come in the next morning. I wasn't afraid of law enforcement, but I knew exactly how easily an HOA president with a thick binder and a smug smile could manipulate a deputy who just wanted the drama to go away. Sure enough, the sheriff's office smelled like stale coffee and hesitation. Harmon laid out all her complaints neatly typed, full of legal-sounding nonsense, accompanied by photos taken by her volunteer paparazzi. I spread out my county survey maps indeed. "This shows the truth," I said. "My land is outside her jurisdiction." He scratched his beard. "Well, maybe y'all can work something out. Beverly's done good things here." Good things. Intimidating widow neighbors into paying thousands wasn't a good thing. Threatening families wasn't a good thing. But I kept calm. At least now Harmon knew the boundaries were fake. On the drive home, though, a weight settled on me. I chose this place for peace, for quiet, for a life without arguments and paperwork and chaos. And here I was again, neck-deep in a conflict I didn't ask for. For the first time I wondered, was I wrong to move here? Was this supposed to be a sign to just let it go? Pack up, leave? I'd seen enough in my career to know that some battles weren't worth fighting. But right as that thought took root, I saw Mrs. Sterling in her garden moving slowly, shoulders slumped, glancing at Beverly's house like a frightened sparrow checking the sky for hawks. I remembered Nathan clutching that petition like it was a hostage note. I remembered the Hendersons, the way everyone whispered their name as if saying it too loud summoned a curse. That's when I knew I wasn't just standing up for myself. I was standing up for every person she'd bullied, and I wasn't walking away. The next morning the situation exploded. I heard shouting outside, Beverly's voice sharp and theatrical. I stepped onto my porch and saw her standing in my driveway surrounded by 15 neighbors. She held her phone in the air like she was conducting a symphony. "Everyone listen," she announced. "Mr. Cole refuses to comply with lawful community requirements. He continues to trespass on HOA property. I am now calling 911. She hit speakerphone so the entire neighborhood could hear her lie to the dispatcher. "We have a dangerous trespasser," she said. "He is refusing to leave HOA common grounds." It was surreal. My dock, my land, my lake frontage. And she was acting like I was a squatter on her property. When the dispatcher said officers were en route, Beverly turned to the crowd with a victorious smile. "This will finally put an end to his behavior." People murmured. Some stepped back. A few recorded on their phones. And I felt a familiar heat rising inside my chest, the same feeling I'd felt on scenes where someone tried so hard to manipulate officers that the truth nearly drowned under panic. 2 patrol cars rolled in, lights flashing. Officers Reed and Cortez stepped out cautiously. Beverly sprinted to them like a kid greeting Santa. "Arrest him. He's trespassing, violating community laws, threatening residents." She shoved her binder at them, pages covered in colorful tabs like she'd built a case overnight. Reed held up a hand. "Ma'am, we'll speak with everyone. Please stand back." Cortez approached me. "Sir, we've received serious allegations. Can you come down here so we can talk?" His hand hovered near his holster. Not aggressive, but alert. I walked down slowly, carrying the folder I'd prepared. "Officers, I have documentation that will clear everything up." Before I handed them anything, Beverly lunged between us. "Don't listen to him," she yelled. "He's manipulating county laws." "He's aggressive. He threatened me." "I never threatened you," I said calmly. Reed flicked his eyes at her binder, then at my folder. "Let's see the documents." I opened my folder. On the hood of the patrol car, official county surveys, stamped deeds, HOA boundary maps, showing clearly the association only covered 12 properties on the opposite side of the lake. Reed frowned. "Ma'am, these are official. Yours are not." "They're community verified," she shrieked. "Everyone knows our authority extends 5 feet onto his land." Cortez raised an eyebrow. 5 feet onto his property. "That's how it's been for years," she insisted. "Do you have county approval?" Reed asked. Silence. Then Beverly cracked. "Legal technicalities don't matter. Community stability matters. Wrong answer. Neighbors shifted. I could see it, fear melting into realization. She pointed at me wildly. He's dangerous. He pretends to be some kind of former officer, probably security guard trash trying to intimidate us. I didn't say anything. Not yet. Then she made her biggest mistake. If you officers won't arrest him, Beverly barked, I will. I'm placing him under citizen's arrest. She took a step toward me. Reed immediately blocked her. Ma'am, step back. You cannot arrest someone for a crime that doesn't exist. But Beverly kept yelling about authority, about how I was ruining her community, about how she'd call state officials, county officials, anyone who would listen to reason. That's when I realized the moment had come. Not for revenge, just for truth. I reached slowly into my back pocket, opened my wallet, and held up the badge I'd hoped I would never have to use again. The gold shield caught the sunlight. Silence slammed through the crowd like a shockwave. Lieutenant Colonel Ethan Cole, I said evenly. State Police retired. Reed straightened. Cortez stiffened. Beverly's face drained of color so fast it was like watching someone turn to stone. Her mouth dropped open, but no sound came out. Phones recorded everything as her expression froze into pure horror. Reed swallowed hard. Sir, we had no idea. You handled everything correctly, I assured him. This wasn't your fault. Cortez looked at Beverly. Ma'am, you filed multiple false reports. You attempted to misuse emergency services. You knowingly presented fabricated evidence. Neighbors erupted, voices rising, people stepping forward. She threatened me with foreclosure. She made us pay thousands. She said she controlled the lake. She lied about the boundaries. It was no longer just my fight. It was everyone's. Reed turned to me. Sir, do you wish to file charges? I do, I said. And Beverly, still frozen, finally reacted. No, you don't understand. I protected this community. I kept everything running. I only collected what people owed. But Cortez was already reading her rights. And when he clicked the cuffs around her wrists, she whimpered, not screamed like before, not lectured, not barked orders, just whimpered, a defeated, broken sound. Please, she whispered. I didn't think. No, she hadn't thought at all. They placed her in the back of the patrol car while neighbors filmed, murmured, shook their heads. Years of fear dissolved in minutes. I watched Beverly through the window as the car door shut. Her eyes were wide, unfocused, trying to reconcile how her empire had fallen apart in the span of a single afternoon. And as the cruiser pulled away with her inside, one simple truth echoed in my mind. Bullies thrive on borrowed authority, but they crumble the second real authority shows up.